Fallout 3 modding has moved on since the days when Gopher made his tutorial videos on YouTube. Very little of what he said back then still applies, especially now that the community is starting to come back. Most of the new mods are aimed at stability and performance, but there are a few that change the gameplay in radical ways. So let's begin, shall we? This guide is aimed at people who own the legitimate game on Steam, but I will give guidance for those who own the GOG version. I know that it's available on the Epic Store as well, but I have no idea how to mod that version. Also, most of the mods require that the DLC be installed. These include Operation Anchorage, The Pit, Broken Steel, Point Lookout, and finally, Mothership Zeta. The Game of the Year edition includes all of the DLC and can be bought very cheaply when on sale, so that's the one I would recommend for newcomers. Once the game is downloaded and installed, run it at least once to create configuration files. You don't need to change the settings now, since there's a better way to do it. There are several ways to install mods into Fallout 3, but Mod Organizer 2 is by far the most popular because it works the best. There's a small learning curve, but it's not rocket science, so you'll be fine as long as you pay attention. I'll stay quiet for a minute as we wait for the installation process to finish. The first time you run Mod Organizer 2, you'll be prompted to create a global or portable instance. I would say, go for the portable one since it makes things a bit simpler. Choose Fallout 3 from the list. I own all of the DLC, so I'll select Game of the Year. As for the profile settings, leave them as they are. It works best this way. Click on Next to continue setup. Click on Next again. Please note that you'll have to create an account with the Nexus if you want to link Mod Organizer to the website. This will make downloading and installing much simpler and faster. If you don't have an account or choose not to create one, you can still use Mod Organizer, but obviously mods will have to be installed manually. Click on Yes to associate Mod Organizer with NXM links. Let's go over a few of the basics. If you download a mod through Nexus, it should show up here in the Download tab. The Plugins tab essentially just tells you which plugins are active. Currently, we have no mods, so the only ones available are the basic plugins that come with the game. The Data tab is important because it gives you direct access to the files in the game's data folder. Lastly, this is where installed mods are activated or deactivated. Even if you're a bit overwhelmed by the information, don't worry. You'll learn as you go along, so things will start making sense very soon. The first download isn't a mod, but a small application. It's called BethINI and allows us to easily change the graphical settings. You'll want to download the standalone version since it offers a hassle-free solution. After that, you can just extract the application folder. In my case, I keep it on my desktop for convenience. This application can be used for all Bethesda titles, so you have to select Fallout 3 from the drop-down list. Under the Setup tab, make sure to direct BethINI to where Mod Organizer is installed. This will ensure that changes will affect configuration files within the Mod Organizer ecosystem. Under the Basic tab, you should change the resolution to at least 1080p. And presets should be set to Ultra. If your computer is less than a decade old, everything will be fine. Under the Detail tab, you can raise the shadow resolution plus increase the number of interior and exterior shadows to their maximum values. This will not harm your performance unless you have a potato PC from 2003. Under the View Distance tab, maximize every value, but leave the distant object detail alone, since this can affect performance when raised above default. When that's done, go back to the Basic tab. Then click on Save and Exit. We have now finished configuring the game's video settings. A lot of Fallout mods require Fallout Script Extender to operate correctly. As before, we'll download the files manually from the Nexus. The files will have to be extracted into the game's main folder, so to do that, we first need to browse the local files through Steam. Once you're back on the desktop, go ahead and extract the required files into the main folder. That's really all you have to do, since Mod Organizer will detect the script extender automatically. There's no need to set it up further. The Anniversary Patcher does important things, like reverting some of the changes made by Bethesda's update. Without this, most mods won't work properly. It also raises the memory limit to 4 GB. First, we'll extract the files into the game's main folder, just like we did with the script extender. But we also need to run the executable to patch the game. Command Extender does what its name implies by adding functionality to the script extender. For the first time, we'll be downloading through the Mod Manager, which in this case is Mod Organizer. Notice that it requires Fallout Script Extender, which we have already installed. If Mod Organizer is not running, Nexus will automatically open it to download the mod. Just go to the Download tab as I alluded to before, and there is the Command Extender. All you have to do is double-click and run the installation. It's very easy. Then just click the box and the mod is activated. However, you'll notice that it doesn't add plugins. Instead, it runs off scripts that are added here in a folder. In case you're curious, this folder was created when I installed the script extender. And in fact, most of my recommended mods will go here. Similar to Command Extender, ButcherPete adds more functions to the script extender. It's new, but already a few mods are requiring it, so it's not an optional download. Just like before, we go to the Downloads tab and install the mod from there. Don't forget to activate it by clicking the little box. As discussed before, the mod is installed here in this folder. It's just a script, but works just as effectively as a plugin. The ESM Patcher is another new addition, but very important to modding Fallout 3. In fact, we cannot continue unless we go through this step. Make sure to select the English version, and take note that it can only be downloaded manually. The files will be extracted into the game's main folder. From there, you can run the mod's executable, which will ask you to direct to the path where the patch will be installed. That would be the game's data folder, so just browse to that location. After that, you can click on Install to finish the process. Over time, the unofficial patch has become the most important mod for Fallout 3. But because of this, a lot of older mods no longer work if you have this installed. Nevertheless, there's no getting around it. You must have it. Otherwise, the game will be a buggy mess. You can download it through Mod Organizer, but I'm going to do it manually to teach you how to install mods this way. So to do it manually, just drag the archive into the Download tab. From here on out, it's no different from what you did before. If you double-click the mod, it will install as if you downloaded from the Nexus itself. The unofficial patch is packaged as a faux mod, which basically means it runs with a proper installation setup. You can select vanilla UI bug fixes, but it's not necessary since I am planning on modding the user interface. Once the mod is activated, you'll notice a new plugin. Because the unofficial patch is used as a master for so many other mods, it has an ESM extension, just like the plugins used by the game itself. However, most mods have ESP extensions, and you'll see them later as we progress further. OneTweak makes a few small but crucial changes that helps to stabilize the game. It also makes it possible to minimize the screen while the game is running. I'll revert back to downloading through the Mod Manager again, since it works so well. And again, installation is very easy. If I go to the data folder, you'll see the script right there. It also has a configuration file, but the default values are fine. After the unofficial patch, Stewie's Fixes is the most impactful so far. It's the reason modders are slowly coming back to Fallout 3, because it essentially backported all of the scripts from the new Vegas modding community. By now, you should know how installation works, so I'm not going to say much here. However, you should also download the configuration file from the Nexus. It has an INI extension, as all configuration files do. I'll just download it like normal, but since it's a separate download, I need to change the mod's name to avoid conflict. After that, I can just install it to add the config file. There are a lot of settings to tweak inside the config file, but I suppose the most important one is the tick fix. This will smooth out the frame rate by getting rid of microstutters. By pressing Ctrl and F on your keyboard, you can easily type what you're looking for. Once you're at the correct line, follow my example as shown here. GOTY isn't really a patch. Instead, it re-implements things that were cut from the original game. You can actually check out the mod page because I think it's very interesting what it does. Anyway, it installs like everything else, but it does add a plugin, just like the unofficial patch did. During installation, you can choose to enable ambient music from Fallout 1 and 2. It's completely up to you. Here's what the plugin looks like. It's also an ESM file. There are 7 more of these mods that you need to install, but I think you should know how to do it by yourself. I mean, we covered all the bases, so there's nothing more left to say. I will give links in the description of my video, so there shouldn't be any confusion. However, there is one more thing you need to know. It's always best to launch the game from Mod Organizer itself, and not Steam. The manager is designed to automatically detect script extender. It also runs with all of the mods in the correct load order, which is not something I can vouch for when running through Steam. In any case, we'll expand on these matters with the second part of this series, which should be uploaded within a few days. In the meantime, what was your experience like? Did you find the video useful? If so, please remember to give a like. It really helps with the algorithm. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.